I'm not sure if I'm going to call it crazy, but I actually got scammed trying to apply for a visa. I'm a travel content creator and I live in the Netherlands. Okay, first country that I went to outside Nigeria was... My name is Chidimma Okafo. You can call me Mma. I'm a travel content creator and I live in the Netherlands. What do I like about living in the Netherlands? I like oliebollen. And I like, I think the people are really nice, that I would say. Moving to the Netherlands didn't really feel like going away from home because you see that it's very diverse. I lived for a year in Amsterdam. In Nigeria, there are still some snacks that are very similar to Dutch snacks, for example. We have this sausage roll, the gala rolls, and there's something very similar to it in the Netherlands. It's called worstenbroodje. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I always like to say that I grew up really fast, but that's because my mom, she lived in the US while the rest of the family lived in Nigeria. And so as a child, just kind of, bring something to your consciousness that life is not always, the way you would expect it to be. It's not always straightforward, right? So even from a young age and also being a middle child, I always felt like I had to look out for myself, sort of. And so for me, I always feel like I had to do a lot of work to get to where I am. And the consciousness of the fact that this work had to be put in, as I mentioned, came from when I was young. But it has looked like different things over the years, right? So I studied medical radiography, completely different from what I'm doing right now. So hard work, I think, for me is just coming from a place where I knew that I had to fend for myself. Even in university, I was a photographer at some point. I made T-shirts at some point. I did a couple of other small businesses just to make some extra cash because I always knew that I liked the good life. So, and no one was coming to save me actually. So I had to save myself. Okay, first country that I went to outside Nigeria was UAE. I went to Dubai. Now this was I'm not sure if I'm going to call it crazy, but I actually got scammed trying to apply for a visa. So a couple of years back, if you would want to apply for a visa, and actually because it was my first time applying for a visa, I decided to use an agent. So I'd paid this guy who I met on BlackBerry Messenger online for a visa, and I didn't hear back from him. I kept trying to chase him and, it was just crickets. So eventually I had to find someone else, still another agent, but this time around based on referral because the other guy, I only just found him randomly. And so this was my first lesson in travel that first, don't trust agents, but also that you should always do things based on a referral because at least you know that the person is then legit. I'm a big fan of doing it yourself. And which is why I also, try to travel myself and also try to teach people about how to travel by themselves because yes, sometimes you need an agent, it's necessary. But I think life would just be so much easier if we all knew how to do these things ourselves. Or at least use someone who is trusted, maybe a real company, as opposed to just a random person that you find. Being completely honest, that first trip was sponsored by my mom. And I couldn't afford to always travel like that, especially because then I had just finished university and I was doing my youth service. So my salary was about 90K a month. So it meant that I had to be, smart in the way that I traveled. So what I then started doing was looking for countries that are around Nigeria that I could go to. So after Dubai or after the UAE, the first other country that I went to was Benin Republic because it was really easy. I don't think I spent up to 150 euros on that trip. Like it was maybe still the cheapest trip that I've done till date. Even though I couldn't travel to, Europe or to the US back then, for me, it was still unlocking my mind, opening my mind up because I think that when you travel, it kind of widens your world experience sort of. So going to Benin for me was, being exposed to another culture, seeing the similarities with Nigerian culture, the food, the people, even the clothes they wear. There's a lot of Ankara being worn in Benin. So I think that if people would travel there, depending on what you're looking for, it could bridge the gap between, wanting to be somewhere and where you are. And then from Benin Republic, I traveled to Kenya, I traveled to Rwanda. I did a couple of trips to South Africa, I think twice. And I went back again to the UAE. I think people should visit Nigeria more. I think don't listen to the travel advisory. I think just come and see for yourself. It's a really nice experience. Nigerians are very hospitable people. They live in largesse, They don't do anything in a small way. They know how to be maximalist. And so you eat the best food, you go to the best parties, you have the best time. And I think everyone should definitely come to Nigeria. I think that one of the biggest takeaways they would take away from Nigeria is how big we are on culture. I think that we infuse culture in everything that we do. From our art, our music, our food. There's just this je ne sais quoi, this feeling of being Nigerian. There's just something really unique about, the Nigerian experience. Yeah, for me, I always believe that the planning step, you can always plan it into 4 things. The first thing you need to worry about is your flights, obviously, point A to point B. Second thing is your hotel. Also your visa. If you're like me, you have to always worry about a visa or something. And the fourth thing is your itinerary, what to do, where to go, things to experience. And so I always, for me, once I can, put all of these things into these 4 buckets, it becomes easier for me. I speak to people who sometimes they feel like it's very overwhelming to plan a trip or that they need someone to do it for them. And yes, maybe not everyone has that grace or has that power to be able to, plan a trip. But for me, I think once you, divide this into 4 buckets in your mind, it just makes it easier, right? Find a place to sleep, find a way to go from point A to point B, find a way to get your visa and plan where to go. Even if you're just sleeping in your hotel room, just have something that you're going to do in that country. So for me, that's how I always plan my trips. One thing I'm learning this year is to actually slow down and to appreciate the little details. To, also go outside of the touristy things. That's also something that I'm learning. So even with the food, what I do is that I always ask like the people at the hotel or at my Airbnb, like, hey, what food should I try? What places should I go to that are not so touristy? And you'll be surprised at the things that they tell you. You'll be surprised at the insights that locals are able to give you. So I would say that's one thing that I'll tell people to do more, to connect to the locals and to actually try to experience it from the perspective of someone who lives there and not necessarily rush through an itinerary or, I would say slow down more. It's not so much about showing people the beautiful side about travel as much as it is showing them, how to actually do it. And so that's something that I think is really important, right? One thing that I try to do is how can I show people, how can I educate people how to go from, being completely clueless to being able to do these things for themselves, right? Yes, I show the beautiful sides, I show the rosy parts, but I also try to show people that it's attainable, right? It's not something that's just out there. It's not something that they can only have wishful thinking towards. It's something that if you put in the work and if you do the research and if you really want to go to these places, you can also do it. If I could do it, essentially, you can do it, right? Because for me, I don't think there's anything special about me. I'm just a girl from Ibadan. Even in cities where you're really familiar with, you have places that feel unsafe, or there are times, even in a familiar place, where you feel unsafe. So then imagine traveling to a place where it's new and you don't really know your way around. Yeah, it can feel a bit scary sometimes being a woman, especially if you tend to travel solo. I also think that as a way to combat this, women can go on group trips. I think that makes it easier because that way you're still having fun, you're still traveling, but there's power in numbers, there's power in community. So it just feels nicer when you have your own people with you. I recently just did a group trip to Portugal with 3 other amazing women. And it felt nice to be able to do that and to be able to take everyone, to somewhere that was completely different, not the most touristy place. We went to the Azores. So, not your usual girl trip destination, but it was nice. And for me, that's something I'm trying to do, right? To show people that they can go to these places that are hidden gems. Not necessarily in a big city where you would have the safety of being in a crowd. It could be to a completely new destination, completely different destination, completely undiscovered destination, right? Like a hidden gem. But at the same time, you can feel relaxed enough and comfortable enough to explore it because you know that you're with other people. I won't say that it does not happen to me. I mean, obviously, there will be racists everywhere, for example. But for me, maybe I would say that I'm intentionally being ignorant, or maybe I would say I'm intentionally not saying it. But I just block out the noise. I think when you know where you're coming from and when you know where you're going to, it's very important for you to block out the noise and to just focus on your goal, your purpose, and what matters to you. There will always be naysayers. There will always be people who are going to be unpleasant to you. There will also always be people who will not accept you for who you are. But that's why, you have to be secure in your own person. You have to know who you are. You have to, really know yourself, I think. If you don't know yourself, you're going to believe what the world tells you about yourself, right? So it's very important for you to know your identity and for you to hold on to your identity. I try to be as African as possible. I try not to, downplay my uniqueness, my Nigerianness. I will proudly tell you that I'm Nigerian everywhere that I go, because I think that's what makes me unique, right? There's no two of me in this world. There's only one of me. And I remember doing like the express entry, which I think everyone does, the Canada express entry, and being in the pool, doing IELTS, the whole shenanigans and experience. And at the same time, I was trying to process schooling to the US because, again, I actually never thought about moving to Europe. I was only interested in moving to Canada or to the US. And it was such a struggle, doing the whole applications, having to go to your school to get your transcript, having to do like the West validations of, your credentials and all of those things. And at some point I started having I won't say I was depressed, but yeah, it's kind of one of those times that can really break you, I think. Just really wanting something, really wanting a better life, but being in that point where you feel kind of stuck and you feel like, things are not working out. And yeah, it didn't work out. Unfortunately, I got admission, but still I had to worry about the funds and how to pay for school fees and all of those things. And just when I had completely given up hope, one day, one of my former colleagues just randomly reaches out to me and tells me about this job opportunity in the Netherlands. But yeah, I wasn't looking to go to Europe. I wasn't looking to move to the Netherlands, but somehow that worked. And I think it just also, it reinforced this idea in my mind that sometimes you're, so hell-bent on one particular direction. You're so hell-bent on one particular thing that you want, but life is pushing you in a different direction. And sometimes you just have to be open-minded. If you're not open-minded, you will always just stay stuck, essentially. But I think that is really important for people to travel, right? If you travel, your world view expands, right? You get a better perspective of people. You appreciate other cultures. So while you might not necessarily leave Nigeria, I think it's important for you to, go out and see what's out there, right? Don't just stay in one place. Maybe what you're looking for is out there. Maybe it's not, but at least you tried, right? I also really think it's important for Africans to actually travel more, because a lot of times I go to some places and I'm the only Black person there. And it feels really weird. I'm not even going to lie to you. So I think representation is really important. The more you travel, the more you're out there, the more, even there sometimes I meet people and they don't even realize, the uniqueness that we have. They don't realize the culture. They don't realize that we don't live in huts. Sometimes people ask me about, so do you see lions in Nigeria? I'm like, nope. You would go to a zoo just like you would also go to a zoo here, right? It's pretty much the same thing. But if people don't see you, they don't actually have opportunities to ask these questions, if they don't also travel to Africa, they wouldn't know that these things are pretty much the same thing. The world is basically a village. It's pretty much the same thing, right? I actually want to build a global community. So not just in the Netherlands. I want to build a community of travelers worldwide, and also not just Africans, right? Yeah, the African story is really important, but I want to be able to build a community for people who are like this, like us, right? It's not just in Africa that you meet people who are not very travel savvy. All over the world, there are people who are, just there. Maybe they don't have the funds. Maybe they don't have the courage. I want to be able to build a community of people worldwide who feel like they can go out there and travel and explore the world and see the world. Travel doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. It can be as little as going to Benin Republic, going to Ghana, going to Togo, right? There are also beautiful things in these places. There are also really welcoming people in these places. If that's what you can afford, then do it, right? But I think that as humans, we should also always be like children, right? Think of children. They have this limitless mindset. They believe that they can do anything, they can be anything. Don't think that anything is impossible. Everything is possible. If someone else has done it, you don't have two heads. That's something every Nigerian parent will tell you, that person that they did that thing, they don't have two heads. That could also be you, right? So it's really important for us to keep that mindset of don't listen to no. When people tell you no, let it sound like yes to you. If people say don't do that thing, not for bad things, not for illegal things, but build your confidence by taking action, even if it feels scary. And I think it's also important to have friends or a support group, a support system that can hold you up when you're feeling kind of down. I think it's really important.